So we are in the characters beta, and we are doing new feature releases as we go through the beta. And launching today, we have custom fields. A round of applause for Ginny for being the main engineer working on that. Um, I sprinkled a little bit of CSS on top, like salt, but that's about it. Um, so I will be demonstrating the capabilities of that, and then we'll be experimenting with that. So, um, is there anything else I should cover that I didn't think of, Michael? Okay, cool. So I've created a story, Crown of Thieves. You will probably see a bunch of Crown of Thieves content in moving forward because I'm going to use it for a bunch of testing on this. So this is a high fantasy story. It follows a princess of the Kingdom of Thieves. This is a kingdom where a lot of thieves live, and in order to inherit the throne, she has to steal a mysterious artifact called the Shadow Crown. And so this follows her journey doing that. So here are the characters. I'm going to start off by telling you what I did with Lillian. So one thing that's new here, by the way, is you can collapse characters. This state of whether they're collapsed or open will reset if you refresh the page, but we will be working on that to make it so that it doesn't refresh, or it doesn't change when you refresh. So for Lyrian, the main character here, she's the protagonist. I have given her a few more fields. The first thing to notice is that these fields that you're used to seeing from last week, personality, background, physical description, dialogue style, you can now change those. So for example, let's say physical description was too limiting. You wanted to include some other aspects of the description. You can just double click into there and delete physical. Now it's just the description. I'm actually going to leave it physical description. But now you can do that to any of these fields with the exception of pronouns. Pronouns, groups, other names, you can't, because those are sort of basic necessary things for Sudowrite to understand your characters. You can think of them as an organizational tool more so than describing your characters. In addition to the ability to rename fields, you can also delete them. So for example, I will click here, I'll add one. We'll call it favorite food. Say you can hit tab and you go into the field there after you name it. Ramen noodles. And then if I go here and I click delete, it'll give me a little warning here. Are you sure? You've got words here. They'll be gone forever, like gone, gone. And then you can click, yes, I'm sure. And then it will go away. For now, that stuff is gone. I'm sure that we will eventually build some sort of character trash, or maybe it'll go in the main trash, because we know that people, some percentage of deletion is always accidental no matter what. You can also access the renaming functionality here if you click it here, but just notice that there's actually a bug right now that's not working. So go ahead and double click the text here if you want to rename it. So what have I put here on my character sheet? I have added a few things here. Core wound. Lyrian's father, the king, once made a comment that he never considered Lyrian would inherit the throne. Ever since then, she decided she has to prove herself. That's really more for me than for the AI to help me think about that, but it'll bring it in sometimes. I added magic powers because in this story, I want different characters to have different magical powers, and I want it to be consistent. So, for example, if a character has magic powers in one chapter, they should have the same magic powers in the next chapter, unless there's some sort of chain, they gain new powers, in which case we'll break that out into a timeline once we get that feature. But for now, it'll be static. This was a problem that I had when I first started using Sudowrite. If there was a mention of one character having magic powers, it would, give other powers to other characters. So this makes it a little bit more organized and keeps it a little bit more intelligent. I also added motivations and wants because I think it'll lead to more interesting scenes if Sudowrite knows what each character wants in that scene. So again, if this changes from chapter to chapter, we could break it down into a timeline, but for now, I'm just leaving it as one. So you can add a custom field. You can add as many of these as you want. I'm creating a lot of work for myself to delete them now, but it is easy to delete if there's no content inside. So now you'll have to do this work for each character right now, but one of the things we're going to work on next is a default set of fields. So there will be a button up here that says customize, and you can set it so that all characters have a certain set of default fields. And then that way you could just delete the ones you're not using or just leave them blank in case you want to add them later. Cool. So you can see that for some of these other characters, I have different fields. Thane is a rival of Lyrian, and I've given him a secret, which is that he has a crush on Lyrian. And you can see that he has a different magic power, which is the power to breathe underwater instead of the power to fly. Here's another character that has, magic powers, but doesn't have any secrets. This is the queen. You can see that some of the fields are longer than others. These can actually be very long, but there is a little bit of a trade-off where if you make the character sheet super just like endlessly long, you're making it harder for the AI to separate the wheat from the chaff. So as is always the case with AI, you want to be a little bit deliberate with what you put in there. Here's a minor character called Thibaut Farney. He is the Forest Thieves Guild's chef. Here's another case of a character that's here more for me than for the AI, just so that I can remember, hey, what was that chef's name? Thibaut, that's the name. And we've moved the delete button into this ... because we added the add custom field button and we didn't want the delete button to be right next to the add custom field button. That's just asking for trouble. So these are some characters. Now let's show and not tell about how this is working a little bit. So I've gone ahead and generated a chapter already. I'll just tell you what happens in here. Lyrian and Softar are training her flight magic in the wooded cliffs surrounding the Kingdom of Thieves and bordering on the Red River. They are going to board a merchant ship. Lyrian flying down from the cliffs and Softar coming from underwater. Unfortunately, Softar's illness gets the best of him, and Lyrian's flight gives out, causing them to get captured by the ship and thrown in steerage. Thane is instructed to watch over them. The chapter ends with Lyrian and Softar breaking out when Softar uses his magic to have a shark attack and break them out. I've turned it into beats, but rather than just sitting here and watch while the beats generate, I wanted to start here where it's already created a first draft, and I can show you how these new custom fields are coming into play with editing kinds of things. So one thing that we can do, for example, is we can do Command K to open Quick Chat, and we can say, I want to make Lyrian and what's the guy's name? Who's Thane? I want to make Lyrian and Thane more different from each other. How could I do that? Hitting enter. So what it's doing now is it's Quick Chat looks at, I believe it's characters and genre, if I'm not mistaken. it will probably be looking at more. And Ginny, would you mind double checking on that? I know it looks at characters, but even though you don't see
Uh,
here's here where it says looking at, the looking at section is only for documents. It's also looking at your characters. So here it says, okay, absolutely. Let's start with their personalities. Lyrian is ambitious, aggressive and fiery. Emphasize her impulsiveness and quick to act nature. On the other hand, Thane can be composed, strategic, and thoughtful. He could be more calculating and patient in his approach. So I'm just gonna scroll down so that you can see like where is that coming from. So in her personality, she is ambitious and arrogant, playful and loyal, but easily angered when her ego comes under fire. So that feels like it tracks. Here for Thane, his personality is actually blank here, but in his background, I mentioned that he comes from a very rich family. In his dialogue style, I say he speaks in a highly educated tone, reflecting his wealthy family upbringing. So even though those aspects aren't directly written in a sort of like keyword matching way, it's able to infer and read between the lines and give you helpful information. Let's see here. Lyrian's gift of flight can be symbolic of her yearning for freedom. In stark contrast, Thane's ability to breathe underwater can symbolize depth, introspection, and the ability to remain calm under pressure. So that's interesting. I could maybe in this scene currently, Thane is not underwater, he's on the ship, but I could look at other ways to do that. Lastly, their interactions with other characters can further highlight their differences. Lyrian can be forceful and assertive, while Thane can be more diplomatic and subtle. So that's pretty cool. I also wanted to call out, I posted this in Discord, but I've told the AI here that Thane has a crush on Lyrian. And this draft is best prose here. And you can see here Lyrian and Thane are having a fight. Thane lunged with his sword, Lyrian darted aside. Years of street fighting guiding her reflexes. Thane hit the deck hard. Lyrian pinned him down, grabbing the fallen sword and holding it to his throat. This is a good scene, knowing, I think, that Thane has a crush on Lyrian, but it does not spill the beans. It remained a secret, which is interesting. As we know, AI sometimes has a hard time not incorporating secrets, but it's working here. So I'm going to pause here and look at chat and answer some questions. And we can do more experimentation. Okay. Correct. I added in rival. Okay. I'm going to go to the beginning. So it's chronological. Okay. Fears and worries. Yeah, that's a cool idea. A box for each goal, motivation, conflict would probably be helpful for those wanting to experiment with that. What is in the list of character type? Nothing has changed there. It's Michael's correct there. Still those 5 options. You can do custom. In terms of Sudowrite's point of view, from Sudowrite's point of view, those are basically just text labels. So anything there that helps clarify. In the future, I think we will be using that for different kinds of organization. So, for example, you could sort the characters according to their role, or you could hide all minor characters, something like that. But for now, their only purpose is to help the AI understand. Hex says, don't forget they don't have to be people, they can be locations, etc. This is true. We will eventually make a proper home for those things so that you don't have to bear the cognitive dissonance of having a character named the Rusty Spoon. Chat looks at genre, characters, and relevant passages. So is there a bit of instruction that says here follows the list of characters in this story? Basically, there's something like that. So first there's a step where Sudowrite looks at the full character list and it says, hey, I need a crunched down version of what's relevant, what is salient. And then that list of salient information is what goes to the final step where it actually writes it. So you might notice sometimes there's a little bit of a longer wait than you're used to when you generate. So then having say some tech that after label. Yeah, that's correct. That it will probably be a little bit smarter once we have a proper home for it. Ginny had a cool idea earlier, which was to try changing someone's dialogue style and then seeing that reflected in the prose. So I'm gonna go over to and go to Thane. This is the rival. So here it says that he speaks in a highly educated tone, reflecting he grew up in a wealthy family. Let's try something else. Does anybody have any suggestions in chat for how to make Thane sound? Give him an accent. Cockney. I know that some of our British members of the audience don't want to hear me doing a Cockney accent. I'm a little behind with all the new tools. When will this be available to all and how to access the beta if it is a beta? Michael, would you mind answering that question?
Yeah, sure will. So it is currently in beta. We've invited only the first round, so there's about 50 people that are participating right now. However, we've got about 50 people on the wait list. If you are not on that wait list and you want to be, I just dropped an Airtable form into the chat. You can fill out that Airtable form. That will add you to the wait list. We're going to send another wave of invitations today. So everybody that's already on the wait list, if don't worry, it's coming today. You'll receive that probably right after this call, actually.
What kind of accent? What accent can I give him that's not offensive? This is going on YouTube.
Now,
Um,
Southern?
Southern.
I ask them sometimes to make it sound like a medieval knight because there aren't a lot of those guys left.
Oh yeah. Okay. Thane speaks in a Cockney dialect.
So just because there's not a lot of them, it's fine to insult them.
Very
Well,
short sentences
they have a
and
very specific
has a
dialect.
tendency to stutter and occasionally blurting out a swear word in all caps. All right, let's try that. Okay, so now I'm going to go up to the wall here. I'll put my cursor at the bottom and then I'll say dialogue test for my future reference. And then I will go up to my chapter generator. I think I'll go fastest and then I'll pause before the dialogue. It looks like they start talking around beat 10. So I'll go fast, generate. And now I'm just gonna scroll back up here. Oh, I don't have to scroll there. Okay, I'll wait for it to get to 7, 8, and then I'll hit pause. This is like precision pseudo writing. Advanced pseudo writing with Ryan Mather. Okay, mode. Now I'll switch to best prose because I prefer that. All right. I have no idea. Okay. Lyrian stared defiantly at Thane through the bars of the cage. Why are you just sitting there? Aren't you supposed to be guarding us or something? Thane shifted uncomfortably. I'm just doing my job. Doing a pretty lousy job, if you ask me. Thane's face flushed with anger and embarrassment. You don't know anything about me. He shouted suddenly, jumping to his feet. I never wanted this, but I don't have a choice. None of us have a choice. We're all just trying to survive. I know. I just wish things could be different. Easy, my friend. We're trapped. Swiftheart nodded. It's time to go. So I didn't really get the new dialogue style through there as far as I can tell. But I wonder how much of this is like maybe fastest is just okay. Let's try. I mean, this looks very different from the last draft I got out of Best Prose. Let me try something really obvious just to confirm it's working. Dialogue style. Vane speaks in French. All the words out of his mouth should be in French. We'll see if that works. And then just to speed things up a little bit, I will just cut out well, I'll just put a pretend beat in here. Thane and Lyrian discuss. This is a bad idea. I shouldn't have them just do something totally off script. It should be like Thane and Lyrian are fighting on board merchant ship, exchanging threats and using their powers to do one another. Continue the scene. Okay, let me just check my beats here. Okay, that looks right. All right, let's see if we get French out of Thane. And we literally just finished building this morning. So, okay. Rends-toi, sale voleur. I don't speak French. Jimmy, do you better?
Manon's here.
Manon.
Rends-toi, sale voleur. So that's French properly.
Okay, but it looks like you fight like a girl. That's not French as far as I
No,
can tell.
it's not.
That's Lyrian
That's
talking though,
Lyrian. Okay.
but that is not
And
French,
you
and you
smell
smell
like
like
one
one.
too. It's not French.
Even that one is half French, half English. Not even half. Ma chère is in French and the rest is in English.
Yeah. I mean, this kind of makes sense because it's pretty unusual to have only one character speak in a different language. So I understand why it's not doing it, but this at least confirms that it is in fact seeing that influence. It's just that influence wasn't enough to get 100%. Now we might see, I wonder if we do it with most accurate, actually, if that would do better, because accurate is in the name. Best Prose, we know, tends to take more creative liberties. So let's try that. Okay. Tu ne peux pas me battre. I'm not going to
Tu ne
try.
peux pas me battre, Léry. Je vais réclamer le trône et toi, tu n'auras rien. Oh, that's good.
Okay, so we're getting full French out of Thane now.
J'ai toujours voulu te voir mouillé, Léry. You always want to see you wet.
So this is her nickname, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw that, but here I gave her an other name, Leary. So maybe because Thane has a secret crush on Lyrian, he's using her nickname to sort of bring them closer. Okay.
I know that one. Jamais. Never.
Okay, nice. Okay, so this is actually good because it shows that sometimes the issue is not actually related to the characters bit. The issue is more related to the prose generation bit, or maybe even your beats. So I encourage experimentation. And yeah, okay, let's take a break to look at chat, see if there's anything. Thane is a francophone. Is it a good idea to make a box for, say, archetype / Enneagram? Yes, definitely. In general with I think it helps to say the same thing in different words to increase the chances of the AI knowing exactly what you intend. So I would try that if you don't see it coming through immediately. Okay, I'm scrolling up a little bit further. Okay. Good point about I dialect. Accent is not actually what we want. Okay. Example dialogue. That's very cool. Oh God, did I make a mistake with French? The AI does not recognize if you only mention a certain character calls them by the other name.
It does. So like if you put in the dialogue style that, Thane only ever calls Lyrian Leary, will be more likely.
Now, even in the other, like where the section actually says other names, I just put called, like, my love interest, I say called Beautiful by Ethan. So
Mhm.
whenever he speaks, even though it's in that other names box, he's the only one that ever calls her. So I just wanted to point out, you could actually put multiple, maybe her father calls her by one nickname, love interest another nickname, and it does pull that in very well.
Got you.
That's good to know.
Okay, I'm going to delete these experiments because I don't want them clogging up my document. And it's saved in history. Okay, now I'm interested in just testing some more. I'm gonna go quick chat and say, based on Marianne's motivations, how should she react to seeing, well, I'll say motivations and background. How should she react to seeing that the kingdom is on fire? And just for variability in our testing, I'm going to turn it off of the high quality thing for chat because it's free. Let's see if it's good in the free mode. Given her ambitious and determined nature, seeing the kingdom in flames would likely ignite a fierce determination. She might feel a surge of responsibility. This could drive her to channel her energy in devising a plan to confront the looming dangers. And then it says, how do you envision Lyrian's response to unfolding in the face of this crisis? I will play ball. I'll say, I'm not so sure that she would want to go help immediately since she's on a kind of covert operation to try to steal the Shadow Crown. Trying to give it a hard test. That's a great point to consider. Now, this is not really fair because I've given it a chance to correct itself, but that's the beauty of chat, I guess. Given Lyrian's goals of proving herself worthy of the throne and obtaining the Shadow Crown, could be a complex blend of conflicting emotions. Could lead to a moment of intense internal struggle. How do you think Lyrian will navigate this conflict between her personal aspirations and her responsibilities? By the way, quick chat is like trying to help me think about through this problem. So it's prompting me too. That's actually a good, helpful question. If I wasn't simply testing the system's capabilities, I would keep talking to it. I have another idea for a question. I kind of want to ask about this random small character named Forgis, which is Lyrian's cat. Let's try asking quick chat if I can think of a way to incorporate that character. I'm going to try asking, how can I incorporate cat into this scene? Not referring to it by its real name might cause it to not be referenced. We'll see. Oh, okay, you found it. What if Forgis, the mischievous tabby, provides a moment of comic relief during a tense interaction? Maybe Forgis decides to playfully dart around Lyrian's feet. Okay, so I'm pleasantly surprised with that. And I could also ask, I want Forgis and Thane to get into an altercation. Given Thane's motivations, what could Forgis do to set him back? Since Thane is a rival to Lyrian and has a secret crush on her, maybe Forgis sees Thane's jealousy and decides to playfully knock over a crucial piece of information or a key item that Thane needs during their interaction. This unexpected action could disrupt Thane's plans or cause a delay. I like that it's incorporating his secret crush in this chat. I like that Sudowrite understands that about my characters and the character dynamics without necessarily putting it in the prose. This is Zach. I'm very excited. I can't fake this kind of excitement because I feel like this is the kind of conversation that would be difficult to have if you didn't have this as a writing tool. You'd have to get someone to read your whole thing, and people are busy, and even if they're not busy, you want to be selective with what you ask for feedback on. I'm just going to open the chat, see if there's anything new in here. How do we turn off the prompting in quick chat? I don't know if I understand that question.
Sorry, I just meant how
Oh.
can we make it so it's not like asking us questions back if we just want like straight answers rather than it being like, hey, well, what do you think? I just didn't know if there was a way, but it looks like I have some good suggestions.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be pretty easy to just say, you tell me, or something like that. Ask quick chat how Thane can save the cat. Okay, I'll put that in verbatim. How could Thane, oops, save the cat?
It's funny that there's a cat in this scene, or you were just talking.
What if during the altercation, Thane unexpectedly finds himself in a situation he needs to act quickly to save the cat from dangerous fallout from another threat? A bit of compassion could reveal a softer side of his character, showing that despite his rivalry with Lyrian, he still cares about the well-being of those around him. It could add depth to Thane's character. On a complete side note, I've been playing this game, Baldur's Gate lately. In that game, the characters in that game are so good because they are all in smack dab in this great middle gray zone. Been playing this game for a while, and I still have no idea like who's good and who's bad. So that reminds me of those characters that I like in that game. So that's exciting. I want to try also checking out Write, because Write looks at characters. So I'm going to go ahead and start a new document just to reduce the amount of things going on here for our test. So maybe let's say I want to do some free writing with Lyrian. I'll say Lyrian is at a dinner, and this isn't good writing, but I'm just, spitballing here. Lyrian is at dinner with a bunch of the nobility, and someone offers to show her a cool spot. Lyrian is curious. I don't know what's going to happen if I just click the right button, but theoretically it should look at characters list because Story Bible is on. Probably going to take a while to load because it has to look through the characters list. And let's just confirm what my settings are here. It's on best prose. So if it says anything that's crazy, we know to attribute it to best prose. Lyrian eyed the young noble curiously as he leaned in and whispered his invitation. Though they had only just met, she sensed no ill intent behind his words. Still venturing off alone, the stranger gave him pause. Glanced around the grand dining hall, forcing a polite smile. Though they spoke eloquently, she found their conversation dull and self-important. That kind of makes sense, I think. Lord Galdric. So Wright made up a character that didn't exist because on Wright, it's it's a little bit more like autocomplete. It's not instructed to stay limited to a specific character list. But I could add a Lord Galdric if I liked it. Here's an idea. So I have this other character in here whose name is Chloe. And Chloe is a friend of Lyrian's, but she has decided not to pursue the thieves' path, but rather the government and nobility path. And I wrote down in terms of motivations that she needs to find a husband who can stay home and do all the chores while she does important government work. She's under a lot of pressure from her family. So maybe I can try writing just a prompt or a beginning that says Lyrian and Chloe are looking for some grub in the inn district of town. They are catching up because they haven't seen each other for a while. All right. I'm going to switch up the right to be a little bit longer because I feel like we couldn't really see that much. I'll just do 3 cards and I'll switch it to most accurate because I just think it will be easier to see what it's looking at because it's more direct in terms of the input that it sees compared to best prose, which is trying to write good style writing, but with just inspiration from the input you show it. Okay, let me make these a little bit bigger. Through the cobbled maze of the inn district, Lyrian and Chloe meandered. The evening light fell on hazy splashes, illuminating the city in an ethereal glow. Shouts of barkeeps and laughter of merry patrons spilled out. Lyrian with his elven grace. Okay, so that's a problem. Didn't pick up on Lyrian's gender here. So I'm gonna look into this one and see what I got confused about. Just looking here. Okay, the moon hung low. Now it's nighttime. Lyrian with her wild silver streaked hair and piercing icy eyes. I've actually described Lyrian differently. She has dark bushy eyebrows and dull grayish blue eyes. So I'm not sure if it's getting too compressed or if Ginny, do you want to maybe go and look and see what you find?
Yeah, I'll go take a look.
It's been far too long. Too long indeed. So they didn't start talking, but I wonder if they didn't start talking because I wanted Chloe to say, "Oh, I haven't found a good date in a while." Let me try guided right, and I'll say, Chloe discusses what she has been up to lately. Go. So, what have you been up to? Well, it's been quite the journey. She spoke of far off lands where the skies danced with colors unseen. So that's not what I wanted.
So it looks like in the summarizations that we're getting, we are not, we're kind of pulling out a lot of information about motivation. There's some information about core wound and background, but physical descriptions have been deprioritized.
Okay. And is it only about Lyrian and Chloe, or is it including others too?
So because Write is set up a little different from Prose Generator,
Okay.
currently we do the whole
Okay.
summary.
So we just have to take so we'll work on upgrading Summarizer to work in the same way as Prose Gen. So
Yeah, that's on the docket.
this is me demonstrating the kind of behavior I would love for the beta testers to engage in. So helping us find areas where it's not working, and that way we can continue upgrading everything and get the best results across the board. It's like watching Maverick write with Skynet. I do not understand the reference, unfortunately. QC did not get the reference. Ryan also didn't get the reference. Yeah, I did not get the reference. Try every dialogue. I mean, I got the reference to the Save the Cat book, if that's what you meant about outlining. I think the physical description not being a high priority is good. We always hate when it constantly references their long raven black hair and piercing blue eyes. It's a good point. It is relatively dynamic, what is important at a given point in time. So we can make things more dynamic if it needs to be more dynamic. There is a little bit of just a trade-off in terms of like latency and cost in terms of credits. The more dynamic and nuanced it gets, the more of a delay and the more credits it is likely to use, although we could play with that and find innovations that don't require that. Waiting within the character box could be interesting. So interestingly, I think that waiting does currently exist with the role. So if you choose protagonist, antagonist, supporting character, minor character, that will actually help it do the waiting, because language models are so smart. They understand that a minor character is less important than the main character. Now, in terms of if there's two characters with the same role, like two supporting characters, we don't have a way yet of differentiating those. Okay, let's see. Waiting within the boxes. That's a good point. For another, it could be the goal. One thing that you can try is riffing on the fields. Let's try this just right now for the sake of exploration. So let's say right now the physical description is really important. Let's just try adding that. This is super important. I'm gonna copy and paste that. So physical description of Lyrian and of Chloe. Chloe just says Chloe is also tall. She has curly red hair. Well, actually, no, because we didn't care about Chloe's physical description here. We cared about her motivations. So let's put that there. Let's just imagine I'm just imagining doing this on the fly, and seeing if that affects the results we get back. Lyrian and Chloe found themselves at the heart of the Inn District. Drunken Dragon. You wouldn't believe what I've been up to lately. Yeah, okay, yeah, it's not. Well, I don't know if they're going to talk about her finding a husband because it's kind of like just it's not enough prose to get there yet. They just start the conversation by the time we're 3 paragraphs in. I'll do something different. I'll go like Chloe told Miriam she had been up to lately. There, that should. Hunting for the 7 shards of the shattered star. Okay, so this one's like more off script, I think.
Do you have the creativity really high?
It's in the middle.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Key details are on but empty. It's interesting. So, I mean, on the one hand, I'm not sure if this is a good thing or a bad thing because I usually use write in the middle or at the end of a chapter. And it's because I'm stuck and I don't know what should happen next. So I'm looking for some creativity in terms of where the story goes next. Another thing we could try is to open the chapter generator. I'll go to my outline and I'll create I'll say chapter 2. Chloe and Lyrian are catching up after not seeing each other. A long time. They discuss they've been up to, their plans for the future. This is a very vague outline description. So in terms of the quality of the beats we're going to see, I would expect it to be not amazing, but we're just testing how good is it at incorporating the character info that we have in there. Start the chapter with Lyrian bursting through the door at the cozy tea shop. Wide grin on her face. Describe the warm embrace. These are beefy beats. It gave me 3 optional beats at the end. I've never seen that before. This is crazy. You use Sudowrite is full of surprises. Have Lyrian excitedly recount her recent adventures. Describe the battle with the rival thieves and the dangers they faced. Sarcastic moments to lighten the mood. I think I did say that that's her personality. Show her anxiety and the pressure she feels from her family to find a suitable husband. Okay. So it found it there. So maybe if you are trying to start a new scene from scratch, maybe go for chapter generator, or you could also like go to quick chat and say, hey, give me some ideas for how to start this. I'm stuck. And you can have a conversation about it.
Quick edit will get the characters too.
Yeah.
So
Rick,
Yeah.
you can also use auto write to start the scene from scratch too. You don't actually need anything in the document anymore.
That's interesting. Yeah. I wonder what will happen if I just do write. Just like that. Oh, because it has the outline linked, so it knows.
yeah, it knows.
Chloe leaned back against the worn wooden bench, her emerald eyes twinkling in the fading light of dusk. Her fingers traced the rough grain, feeling each groove and bump carved from years of weathering. Feels like a lifetime has passed since we sat together under this tree.
I don't know why we keep trying to turn Lyrian into a he
Does
him.
Vivian sound like a male name? I guess it's kind of ambiguous. Here, I'll turn Story Bible off, and then I'll go quick chat. If you were to guess, what gender does Lyrian sound like? Oh, crap. I looked at the other documents. It sounds like a gender neutral name, which adds an intriguing aspect to the character. What aspects of Lyrian's personality do you think are highlighted by this gender neutral name choice? Question mark. Let us know, by the way, if y'all think that the tendency to ask questions is annoying, we can nerf it if we don't want it to do that. Nerf is a jargon word that they use in video games to mean reduce for anyone who's not in that community that I'm in. There's one other thing I wanted to say. Oh, yeah. So let us know about pronouns too. If you're finding that the pronouns are not matching as much as you want, we could potentially like always include the pronouns in the requests. The only thing is that then, you're risking the AI potentially paying too much attention to pronouns and then including them when it doesn't need to. So it's definitely a balancing act. I want to find a harmonious middle point here. Nerf or nothing. Nerf, please. Goliath has a tendency to make everyone they/their. Buff those pronouns. So we've got a mix of nerf and buff requests. Balance out to 0. We have a game of dirty backyard in chat with the pronouns. Okay, any other questions as we reach the end of our hour together? Checkboxes to allow on-the-fly enabling/disabling of boxes such as pronouns. This is something that we are planning to work on. It will probably not be a checkbox because I don't want to clutter everything with checkboxes all over the place if you're not using them often. But we will definitely do something, some way to hide things or show things on a case by case basis. And if it turns out that it's something that we use very frequently, we can make it something that's an easy to access checkbox or something like that. Copy pasting of characters across projects and toggling characters on off so unwanted characters don't get pulled into scenes. Similar answer about on the fly enabling or disabling of boxes such as pronouns. There's going to, I think, be a similar mechanism like hide from AI, show to AI. We could also potentially just put a toggle like here. You just toggle it off if you want it off. My concern with that, though, is that people may not understand what it means to toggle a character off unless it has a clear label. Toggling characters on or off so unwanted characters.
Or maybe you could say on-set and off-set, like they do in the movies.
That's interesting.
I
It's
forget,
so
Ryan, did you already show, was that in the community call that you showed the sort of idea around that, the thinking around hide
Yeah.
and show?
Yeah, I think I did. So we'll definitely be working on that in the coming weeks. We do want to make it so that, well, we want to do a nice balance where you're definitely going to be able to control everything, but at the same time, we want it to be good out of the box. So you don't have to constantly turn things on and off. Like it should just be smart enough to understand, like, oh, this minor character named TT is like not relevant to, he doesn't even have a personality description other than Goofy Goober. So probably not a really relevant character. Okay, we'll stop here, and we'll try to do one of these pretty soon, maybe in 1 week or 2 weeks. We are likely going to be working on generating new characters very soon, and potentially some things around reordering and changing the order of characters. So stay tuned. Tell all your friends. May you have a prolific week of writing ahead. Sayonara.